Hello and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn how to overcome adversity, to pitch back versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Hope you guys are enjoying those quick tip episodes. If there's anything you want to hear specifically, maybe it's about hydration, maybe it's about post-recovery again, maybe it's about something else that you just want to know and you want me to spend the next 5 to 10 minutes talking about it all for you, please reach out. Health Fitness Redefined with the D at the end, podcast@gmail.com. Again, Health Fitness Redefined podcast@gmail.com. Without further ado, we're going to welcome to the show Dr. Cori Stern. We love having chiropractors on, so welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's really an honor to be here. So happy you invited me.
Thank you for coming on. You're like the 12th chiropractor this year, so
I know. I've been listening.
We love having you guys on, though, because it helps branch out some different topics, and you always have to have the willingness to learn new things, and because this field changes every single day, as we found out as we go through. So before we really dive into our topic, I just kind of want to learn a little bit about you and how you got started.
I was raised on junk food. Before I was even born, my mother was eating junk food. So I was born with what I call a garbage body. And my parents were literally poisoning me without, realizing they were doing it. I ate garbage my entire childhood, processed food, fast food. Both my parents smoked, both cigarettes and marijuana. So I was exposed to a lot of toxins. And I was sick as a child. My whole childhood, I had throat infections, ear infections, bladder infections. I was always on antibiotics. And I thought it was normal. I thought all kids took medicine all the time. And by the time I was 15, I had a throat infection that would not respond to anything that medical doctors were giving me. And it was summertime. I was really not feeling well. And I couldn't, have fun as a teenager in the summer because I was sick and I was getting upset about it. And I decided that medical doctors don't really know how to help people with their health, and decided I was going to heal myself. So I started doing some research. This is back in the mid-70s where there were these things called books. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that, but I started doing some reading, and one of the publications I came across was a magazine called Prevention, which I believe is still around today, maybe online only. But Prevention was a magazine that probably was the only alternative health publication at the time. And when I read that magazine, I discovered something that astonished me, and that was that there's a connection between what you eat and the state of your health. And I never knew that. Nobody ever told me that. Certainly my parents didn't know it. My teachers didn't tell me that. So I decided to completely change my own diet at 15. I was working as a babysitter, making $1 an hour, big money back then. And I eliminated sugar and flour and refined stuff and processed foods. And I was living in Manhattan at the time. There was one little health food store, if you can believe that. And they had a rack of books in there, and I started to want to do more research, and I found a book called Back to Eden. And that is like the herbal Bible written in the 1920s that has every single herb and its therapeutic benefit. And I became fascinated by that. And I started buying herbs and making concoctions in my bedroom. And with the change of the diet and taking some herbs, I ended up healing my chronic throat infection by myself. And that led me to having a vision that maybe someday I would do that for other people. And so now this is my third career. I'm about to turn 60, but for the past 22 years, that's what I've been doing. I have a busy practice in New York where I help heal people through nutrition. I also teach other doctors how to do it. I travel around the country teaching, and I have my own show where I teach people very simple language how to, pursue the correct nutrition in order to optimize their health.
Very interesting story, and something that we've talked about a lot through fitness, through nutrition. It's you can find different ways to kind of take care of yourself. And that's been the main theme of our show going for 3.5 years now. But so I do love the story here. You were kind of helped to figure it out, especially just considering that there was no Google.
Right. Yeah. You remember when you actually had to calculate equations and paper and pencil? Yeah.
Go to the library and actually have to dig out books to find ones you were looking for to read them.
Microfiche. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So we got a good background. You said you have a chiropractic office where you're working with patients all the time. And I know we are approaching Thanksgiving. That's right around the corner for a lot of us. So it becomes stressful. And I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the gym end and how we see it. And then we'll segue into ways to like stress reduce. One thing I've noticed every year is that summer and September we die out, and then in October we get a big boost, and a lot of people start coming back to the gym. And then that like today would be the first day where people just start making fitness less of a priority all the way until the new year, and they just put it on the back burner because they're doing 100 million holiday activities and paying no attention to coming into the gym. So based upon your experience, is this something that you've seen as well, that during that time of year, people kind of put themselves last and put others first?
Yes. So people are very habituated with specific rituals and certain times of year where they feel they must do this or that, and get really involved in the whole, holiday ritual routine. And one of the problems with that is that people make, let's say, poor food choices. And when you try to talk to them about it, they say, well, but it's the holidays. So they use the holidays as their justification for actually doing harmful things to themselves, and like stopping exercising or eating things that they've been taught, at least by me, that they shouldn't be eating. I have some stories about that. I had a patient an older woman, she was in her late 60s, and she had a condition called psoriatic arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease where you get psoriasis on your skin and you get joint damage. So this disease attacks both your skin and your joints. And this woman was a sugar addict. And so she had a really high sugar diet, and I'm sure sugar is inflammatory. So, and psoriatic arthritis is an inflammatory disease. So it took a while. It took maybe, I don't know, a few weeks to help her wean off the sugar and replace the sugary food she was eating with more nutrient-dense foods, and her cravings were reduced, and her pain, which was off the charts, and she was on a ton of pain medication, it actually went away, and she came off a lot of her toxic pharmaceuticals, and she was doing great. And then it was the week before Thanksgiving. She's in my office waiting to be seen, and my staff told me that she was in the treatment room crying. So I go in there and I say, what happened? What's going on? And she said, it's gonna be Thanksgiving and I can't even eat pumpkin pie. So this is what, and I'm not like making fun of her, I'm just literally imitating what she said to me. So this is what happens to people, right? They feel that they must do this ritualistic, whatever it is. You must eat this on this day. So I said to her, go ahead and eat it. eat the pumpkin pie. Let's see how your body responds to it, because sometimes people need to have that experience before they realize um, the actual effects of certain foods on how they feel. So she came back the week after Thanksgiving, and I said, "How did it go? Did you eat the pie?" And she goes, "Oh, I found a recipe for pumpkin pie with a natural uh, substitute sweetener, and it was delicious, and I was fine." So sometimes also people just need to be given permission to not behave well. Different people need different types of coaching in order to be able to handle situations like that.
Yeah, and I think it goes down to just having an understanding, just kind of based upon that story. Even if she went ahead and had pumpkin pie like the regular way, it's all right, have pumpkin pie, but don't have the pie. And people just have this like glutton response where, especially when it comes to sweets, they just the whole donut or the whole big piece of cheesecake that's like this. And it's just like, why not, if you want it, just have really smaller portions of it. And that way you're still getting that craving done, but you're not really doing too much harm. Like I'll do like sorbet, and sorbet is my like ice cream alternative because I can't have dairy. And I'll do a couple like little spoonfuls, and that's it. But I'm not gonna sit there and eat the entire thing because then I'm gonna feel like crap afterwards. But at least I got a little taste of it, and I got the craving away. And I kind of, as a reward myself, hey, you did a good job this week. You worked out hard. Have a little bit of a okay, great, move on. Have a nice day.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one great approach. I like to focus on trying to eliminate people's cravings. So if you eat enough nutrient dense foods and then you avoid things like donuts or whatever, after a while, if you try to eat them, they don't taste the same, right? And the craving is not as strong. And then we also give people alternatives. So, like, she found the pumpkin pie recipe that she enjoyed without the sugar in it, and we have recipes, and we point people in different directions so they can feel like they're indulging without necessarily doing harm. And for somebody like you, maybe like you're super healthy, and having a little bit of sugar once in a while doesn't mess up your body. But for some people, if they're very sick, or let's say they have diabetes or cancer or an immune challenge, like a chronic infection that won't go away, sometimes even just a little bit of sugar can make them a lot worse. So I like to do each individual that's in front of me and customize what might work for that person.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of segues into finding stress relief that would work for a significant person. So, do you have any suggestions for, especially like this time of year, for people to help kind of not overreact and stress about what they're getting little Johnny for Christmas and start taking little separate priorities for themselves so they don't get overwhelmed?
Yeah, definitely. I consider myself an expert on this topic, both professionally and personally. I have a special needs son, an adult son who lives and works with me. So he's 36. So that's 36 years of having to manage that. And then I run a business in New York, a small business. So you can relate to the
Yes.
stressors that causes. And then I travel around the country teaching, and I have my channel. So it's a lot. So I have had to learn how to really handle stress from the bottom up. And I'll explain what I mean by that in order to keep functioning and not fall apart. So, stress is a normal part of life. It never goes away. It changes intensity. What you're stressed about changes, but it doesn't ever go away. Some people think that, oh, as soon as my kids grow up and move out, I'll be less stressed, or when I retire, I'll be less stressed, or when I get a new car, I'll be less stressed. But it's not really true, because you might be less stressed about that, but then something else is going to come along. So the key is to be able to manage the stress that you do experience, to manage it so it doesn't end up making you sick. So one of the key points about this is that when you are stressed, no matter what it's about, whether it's about holidays or whether it's about, major life events, when you're stressed, your body burns more minerals. This is something most people don't think about or know. So minerals are critical substances for every part of your body, every organ to function properly. Minerals are what I call the like kind of the key that turns the motor on, right? So when we're talking about minerals, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that your body needs. Calcium, magnesium, manganese, zinc, phosphorus, iodine, iron. There's a whole bunch of them, and you need all of them. But when you're experiencing stress, you burn them more. So now, if you're not eating enough nutrient-dense food, and where do minerals derive from originally, right? They're in your food, but how does the food get them? It gets them from the soil. So if you're eating foods that are not grown in mineral-rich soil, you're probably mineral deficient, and or if you're not eating the right foods, and or if you're under a lot of stress. So the more stress you're under, the more your body functions accelerate, right? And you know about the fight or flight response. So your body is literally behaving like you're about to die. No matter what, you're stuck in traffic, you're on your way to work and you're going to be late and you're stuck in traffic, and your body is responding to that as if you're being chased by a wild animal or about to be hit by a car. So your body functions get accelerated and you need more minerals. So solving this problem from the bottom up means making sure that you're taking enough minerals into your body to be able to handle stress better. When you become mineral deficient, you become symptomatic. That's when little things freak you out, where you get anxiety about the little things, where you're worrying about every little thing and you're feeling nervous or anxious, or you're not sleeping well. And other symptoms of mineral deficiency, you can have heart palpitations, high blood pressure. So there's, any symptom, headaches. Some people have digestive upset. So the solution is, first of all, to make sure that you're getting the right minerals. So that's one of the things I always evaluate, to make sure people are not mineral deficient. And the more chronically stressed you are, the more you're probably mineral deficient. We try to teach people how to eat mineral-rich foods and grown in mineral-rich soil. We refer people to an Amish farm that actually grows really good nutrient-dense foods. And if people are interested, I can let you know how anybody can find a farm in the U.S. Where they can get this type of food. There's actually an organization called Farm Match that will find the closest farm for you. And even people, I don't know if you have listeners outside the U.S., but there's also a website where you can locate farms anywhere in the world. So that's one thing. And then, so eating good food, taking good minerals. And then the other thing is to gain some perspective on what's going on in your life and prioritize. Is it really a life and death situation? What will happen if this doesn't get done, or it doesn't get done the way you think it should be done? So I find myself having to teach patients how to do techniques like deep breathing. When you take deep breaths, you turn on the relaxation part of your nervous system. That's how that works. That's why deep breathing is helpful. When you're under stress, you tend to breathe more shallowly, and that's the part of the nervous system that turns on when you're alert, awake, exercising, working, or under stress, right? The fight or flight part. But when you take deep breaths, you turn on the part that's supposed to turn on when you're sleeping and relaxing and digesting and healing. So just deep breathing alone is a really great tool because you could do that anywhere. You could do it anywhere, anytime. And then some people need things like progressive relaxation. That's an exercise where you lay down, close your eyes, and you bring your attention to each part of your body, starting at the top of your head, and you go down your body and note whether or not you have tension in that part of your body. And you just relax the top of your head, relax your scalp, relax your eyebrows, and you do that all the way down to your toes. And that works really well for people, and it keeps your focus on what you're doing for that moment and not thinking about whatever it is that's stressing you. I have so many patients that tell me that they can't fall asleep because they can't turn their mind off.
Yeah, it's two really good points as far as different ways to help cope, manage, and what really makes the stress progressive in a sense. I want to be a little more specific on both ends, but we're going to take a quick break from a word from our sponsor, and then on the flip side of this, we're going to dive into specifics of each one of those two things that you mentioned. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll be right back. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way, and through fitness, you can do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference. Hey everybody, and welcome back. We have Dr. Cori Stern here talking about two awesome ways to help manage and cope with stress and things that you may or may not know about it. I'm going to go back to the first one you mentioned, which was about being mineral deficient based having stress. So your body becomes deficient in minerals and it can help cause side effects of post-stress, which is just lack of a better word. But what specific minerals are we talking about? Because there's a bunch. So are there any specific ones that you know, like maybe it's more specifically magnesium or manganese, things that really help with just recovery, or is it whatever, all of the above?
Yeah, so different people are deficient in different minerals, so it's kind of specific to your body, but I use formulas that are actually put together to help with stress. My favorite nutrition supplement company is called Standard Process. It's the oldest nutrition supplement company in the United States. They're over 90 years old, and they have their own farm where they grow most of their stuff in Wisconsin. It's really clean. So that's mostly what I use, and I often sound like a commercial for them. I don't work for them. I just really like their products, and they work really well. So one of my favorite one is from that company is called Minchecks, and Min stands for mineral. And I call them chill checks. So they're literally like taking a chill pill with no side effects. And there is some magnesium in it. There's actually some iodine in it. People don't think about iodine as a mineral that you need for stress, but you actually do. Stress often does end up affecting your thyroid function. And a lot of people have an underfunctioning thyroid, and iodine is critically important for your thyroid function. Not just your thyroid. It's important for like every cell in your body has an iodine receptor on it, believe it or not.
Potatoes.
Yeah.
Great supplement of iodine.
Exactly. And yeah, so what you mentioned, magnesium and manganese, and even some people, if you're calcium deficient, it will make it more difficult to deal with stress. So Minchecks has everything in there to cause a physiologic relaxation effect without making you sleepy. I took some this morning and I'm wide awake, but I can handle my life better when I take it. And It improves the quality of your sleep also when you take good quality supplements. So there's other types of supplements. There's something called CalMag, which is readily available in health food stores. And a lot of people take that at night before sleep, and it helps to relax the body. But in general, we can say that if you're deficient in any mineral, it's going to make it more difficult for your body to handle stress, let alone your mind. Your body is still going to feel stressed if you have any mineral deficiencies.
Yeah, I agree. And I know there's blood work you can get done through certain companies. It's not everywhere and it's not readily available. And most of the time, insurance doesn't cover it. But you can really do specific vitamin and mineral checks on everything. And they'll show you exactly where you are. I know there's one in Boston. I'm just blanking on the name of it, but I'll try to get it from my brother because he was the one who introduced me to that specific lab. But it really can help open your eyes about what you need. And maybe if you eat the same diet every day, yeah, that might be great for weight loss, but then if you're not getting a full nutritional aspect of your foods, you're going to be missing stuff if you're eating the same thing every single day. So you have to really make sure you're well-rounded in the type of foods that you eat, every different type of vegetable, fruit, and far in between of all of it.
And yeah, that's a great point. And not to mention fat. Fat is so important for brain health and brain function. And a lot of people have incorrect data about fat. And a lot of people think fat is bad and fat makes you fat. So fat is another nutrient that you need in order to be able to handle stress and in order not to develop things like dementia later on. I just also wanted to mention, aside from blood work, which can be costly, and as you said, insurance doesn't usually pay for it. And New York State, the regulations, at least in New York, are very stringent about being able to do those kind of alternative tests. If, your listeners are probably from all over, so not, some states are, it's easier to get that kind of test. But I also wanted to mention another way that you can be evaluated for mineral deficiency, and that is through a technique called muscle testing or kinesiology. So it's what I do. I literally can push on somebody's arm and touch different points in their body to get information about what they need and what deficiencies they have. And it sounds a little wacky if you've never heard of it or seen it, but it's extremely effective. So if you also want to explore finding a practitioner in your area that does that, that would probably be less expensive than getting that blood work.
Yeah, there's always other options. I'm a big believer in. I like doing it once a year just because it gives you an overwhelm, and it's not that bad. I think it's only a couple $100, but you do it once a year. You get a whole nice, like I'm telling you, like they're not even just gonna say this is your LDL level. This is gonna be exactly what low density lipids you have in your body, and it's pretty cool. And hopefully it becomes more mainstream. But the second point you mentioned was the meditation aspect of it. You call it just progressive relaxation, and it is something I can personally vouch for. It's just taking deep breaths and kind of calming your mind pretty much gets you relaxed and ready. And you mentioned noticing different parts of your body. It's a combination of both stimulating that relaxation response from deep breathing, as with kind of bringing your mind to focus on your current self. And what I mean by that is instead of having racing thoughts, which is what most people experience under stress, your mind is going a mile a minute and you're thinking about everything that you've done, and then it becomes overwhelming. And then you start stressing because then you're overwhelmed, and then you overwhelm more. So now you're more stressed. So it hits that cycle is if you start thinking about, okay, this is kind of where my feet are, and I feel that there. And it just really gets your mind more focused and can really help reset you. I've done it before. And the crazy part is that you don't realize how quickly time goes by. Like I tell people like 10, 15 minutes, and you'll feel a lot better. And you're like, oh, how can I do that for 10, 15 minutes? It's like, but then you do it and it feels like it's 20 seconds. It just really just time just goes shoop. So it does help a lot. And I have a third way to help reduce stress, and maybe you can help branch on it upon it more. I call it the carryover effect, which just means that most people take a stressful situation, carry it over to something else in their life, which carries over into something else in their life. And then a small stressor eventually becomes a big stressor down the line, where I do just a mental reset every morning. So that's regardless of what happened the day before, regardless of how I feel. I know when I go to bed and I wake up, I start from scratch, and it helps clear your mind in a little more aspect of, okay, today's a new day. Let me get through my morning routine, which usually involves coffee, but just kind of get that done. And then I can start with that day's priorities and accomplish things to get done whatever I need to get done. And then yet again, back to bed, reset myself, go to bed, wake up, not stressed whatsoever. So I'm not really having all that roll over. It's not perfect because there are days that it does, and there are days I get super stressed. Ask my wife. So just something I think has helped me a lot personally, doing crazy hours and things that I do. What's your advice on that? And have you heard of it before?
Yeah, definitely. I actually figured that out on my own out of sheer necessity. And I try to stay. So, both things that you talked about, how fast the time goes when you're focusing on relaxing and then also doing a reset, I find that just being in present time. So, recognizing that the past no longer exists, it's not in the present, it happened before, it's not happening now, and the future doesn't exist either. You only actually have this moment. This is the only thing that exists right now. And in this moment, how are you? Are you okay right now? Right? So it helps people to stop worrying about what might happen or obsessing over what did happen. And it's another way of doing a reset, because when you worry about things that may happen or you remember things that went wrong, you're setting off a stress response in your body. I suggest that my patients check in with themselves throughout the day. Just, take periodic check-ins. And how are you feeling right now? Like, are you tense? Are your shoulders up by your ears? Are your eyebrows, like all the way up to your, scalp? And just let it go. Just let it go in that moment, and just do that periodically. It's like training yourself. It's like training yourself to learn how to relax. A lot of people don't know how to relax. They just avoid stuff. They distract themselves.
Yeah, that's so true. They
Mhm.
just try to distract themselves, but they don't really relax. They're just trying to think about literally anything else, and then
Right.
hopping back into it. And then the fourth thing, which now I'm going to sound like I'm beating a dead drum, is exercise. I mean, exercise is the most underutilized anti-stress tool. Nothing burns off steam like a good hit session. I mean, when I have my days when I'm bitter to just everything and I feel my blood boiling, I do 20 minutes of high intensity training, and it doesn't matter how stressed I was pre that. There is just no energy left in my body, and I am just hit complete and utter relaxation. You just hit that wall and it just dissipates out. And then your mind resets itself, and then you're ready to move on to the next thing. So I am, as everyone knows, a huge advocate of prioritizing fitness first, because it is so much easier. It doesn't have to just be a hit session. It could be going for a morning walk, going for a jog, doing a little weight training session, just something, especially during this time of year. Don't let it fall off the bandwagon. Hop onto it, hit the gym. Don't lose that routine, because that's going to help you stress less. And when you stress less, then you're able to figure out your priorities better, which is another flip side of that. When you stress, you suck at prioritizing. It's just true. You're horrible
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
When you're not stressed, you can start figuring things out and getting things done, because you're not sitting there obsessing over what you're stressing about. So that's my big takeaway. And you look, add to that one.
There's a biological reason why exercise helps with stress. And, first of all, before there's technology, humans were moving from the sun up to sundown. Humans had to fetch water and carry water and chop wood and make fires and hunt and gather. And there was no time to stop. There were no chairs, right? Chairs are not part of planet Earth. We were walking or standing or maybe squatting to eat or to take a poop or whatever, and then sleeping, laying down. So it is biologically normal to move. And most people are not moving enough right now, right? Most people sit, and sitting is really bad for you. But the other part of it is that when you're stressed, your body goes into fight or flight mode. And that means that you need to either run away or fight. So since you're not doing either one of those things, exercise helps the body to burn off the adrenaline that's getting pumped out when you're stressed. And that's why you feel so much better afterwards, and you get all your relaxation hormones pumping out instead of the adrenaline.
Yeah, just do it. Now I sound like Nike, but just get out there. Don't give it up. I mean, if just even this week, and I will say this, my own ritual is I'm a huge fan of Thanksgiving, but I will always work out Thanksgiving morning. I will never miss a Thanksgiving where I don't hit the gym for about 45 minutes to an hour. Because yet again, I know going into the rest of the day, I'm going to be eating all day, sitting all day, relaxing all day. So it just kind of makes you enjoy the moment more, and actually gets rid of the guilt that you have later after eating all of that Thanksgiving food if you can't control yourself while doing it. Because now at least you know you had a really good workout going into it, as opposed to not doing anything, going out eating a lot of food and then feeling like crap afterwards. So definitely just a nice little trick to get through Thanksgiving. Just use that morning off and go work out, hit the local gym, go outside, just do something, and you will feel, I promise, so much better. And then on the flip side, if it's not raining or snowing, depending on where you are, an old family like tradition is get outside afterwards. Go for a family walk, go play flag football, go do something, just engaging with everybody outside. Just move your body, and then you'll be able to sleep actually better that night because you're not as bloated and ugh. You don't want to hit that food coma that everyone else just seems to hit. It's not the turkey, guys. Get it out of your head. It's not the turkey that makes you tired. It's the seeing amount of food.
Yeah, definitely. And when you have dogs, you're forced to go out on Thanksgiving morning, and you're forced to go out after you finish eating. So that works out really nicely for me. I take them to the park, I take the hills, I'm in nature. And not just on Thanksgiving, but do it on every holiday. Make it a habit of, because most holidays you're overindulging in food. So it's a really good ritual to put into your life. And in addition to the rituals that may not be serving your health well, this one is something that you can never go wrong doing.
Absolutely agree. And we're gonna start kind of summarizing everything. I ask a final two questions, but I'm actually going to change the final one of the questions for you because I think this is appropriate. So instead of asking you to summarize the episode, I'm going to have you just kind of run down quick tips like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what you do. And then we'll take a nice little takeaway from that. So, Dr. Cori, it's all you. Just give us a brief rundown of quick tips that people to do to help with stress reduction throughout the holiday season.
So number one, try to, as much as you can, avoid eating processed foods. So you're reducing your toxic load. Toxins take minerals out of your body. And you need the minerals for stress. Number two, reduce the amount of sugar you're eating. Sugar competes with minerals to get into your cells. So the more sugar you eat, the more mineral deficient you're going to be. The more mineral deficient you are, the more difficult it's going to be for you to manage stress. Number 3, examine what's really important. We talking about priorities. You don't have to be perfect. It's not necessary. Nothing bad's going to happen if you make one less dish or your house isn't, perfectly set up the way you want it to be. Number 4, consider doing a different ritual. You don't have to do the same thing every single year just because that's what you've always done. If it's not working for you, you can change it. It's okay. You can come up with a different way of celebrating. And then the last thing I want to say is make sure that you put in your relaxation time. No matter what else is going on, you have to get enough sleep. You do most of your healing in your sleep. If you're missing out on sleep, then you're not going to be able to manage your stress well. And just before you go to sleep is a great time to do that progressive relaxation exercise where you do some deep breathing and relax every muscle in your body.
I absolutely love it. And then the second question, which is the easiest one of all, how can people find you, get a hold of you, give us all the good stuff?
Oh, yeah, great. So I have a website, drcori.com, and I actually have a free gift on there. The link to that is www.drcori.com/free-gift. And that is a little PDF about everyday things you never knew were toxic with some alternative suggestions to avoid poisoning yourself. I also have a health channel on YouTube, Dr. Cori Stern, and my name, Cori, spelled Cori. So I have videos on every single health topic imaginable. And if there's something on there that you want to see that I don't have, just communicate with me and I'll make a video for you.
I love it. And thank you for coming on, guys. And thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is medicine. Until next time.